Hello, Sham. Namaste. Hello, Shashi. Namaste, Hari Om. You're the first to arrive. And there's Haima.
Hello, namaste, Brother Shankara.
Namaste, dear.
How
The prompt people are arriving. Balakrishna, there we are.
Yeah.
Those who are prompt by nature. In terms of judging people by their promptness, we always have to keep in mind that Vivekananda was almost always late. One time when he was to speak in Oakland, he was 2 hours late.
Wow. I'm sure he had a good reason, Brother Shankara, right? 2 hours.
Swamiji was of the same opinion as my dear grandfather. Never complain, never explain.
Yeah, makes sense.
There's nobody objecting.
So whether there was a good reason, we have no idea. One of the things about reading yesterday's works from the complete works was that I was reading some of Swamiji's letters. My assignment was in volume 9, the letters. And it was abundantly clear that Vivekananda was a human being. He was definitely a human in his behavior and his thoughts and in his writings and his letters. He made no pretense at being a divine being. And when I say never complain, he didn't exactly complain, but he certainly did make plenty of observations about the fact that his health was not that strong. Balakrishna ji, can you hear us?
Hari Om Shankara ji. Yes.
Hari Om, namaste.
Namaste. Yeah, it was a good reading.
Yes, it was a wonderful reading.
Yes.
And there were people doing it all over the United States, all over the country, because Swami Sarvadevananda is responsible for centers all over the country. There were people from all over the country. So the whole of the United States was filled with the vibration of Swamiji's titanic thoughts. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvina Vaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. May the divine being look over us lovingly as a mother and father. May the divine being support and nourish us as a mother and father. May we have the strength and skill to study together the art of spirituality. May no misunderstandings arise amongst us. Om, peace, peace, peace be unto us, and to all suffering and joyous beings everywhere. So, good evening, everyone. Good evening. Namaste. We are, of course, studying the life of Holy Mother, which is heartwarming and occasionally heartrending. She had such a remarkable life. So the subhead for this evening that we start with is Holy Mother's Travels, 1895 to 1897. Although from 1895 to 1896, Holy Mother lived mostly in Jairambati, she sometimes visited Kamarpukur. After attending Jagadatri Puja, Holy Mother and Golap Ma went to Kamarpukur. On 26 November 1895, she wrote to M. Now, we must remember about Holy Mother. She always dictated her letters. It wasn't that she couldn't write. She just didn't. She dictated her letters. So always one of the brahmacharis or someone else would take down her letters. On 26 November 1895, she wrote to M, I received 10 rupees which you sent. I am now living in Kamarpukur. Golap had a fever, but has now recuperated. In April 1896, Holy Mother returned to Calcutta and stayed for 1 month at Sharat Sarkar's house at 59/2 Ramkanta Basu Street. She could not stay at Balaram's home because his son Ramakrishna was soon to be married and the house was full of their relatives and guests. In 1896, Vivekananda wrote a letter to his brother disciples at Alambazar Mat, encouraging them to serve human beings as God. Now, this is not the very beginning of Swamiji's ideas about this. He actually had a very profound experience at that point at the very south of India about Sri Ramakrishna's serve Jiva as Shiva. And so he began his thoughts about the monks serving in that way. And he had some very specific ideas about it. So in 1896, Vivekananda wrote a letter to his brother disciples at Alambazar Mat, encouraging them to serve human beings as God. Swami Chetanananda read that letter to Holy Mother, and she said, Naren is an instrument in the hands of the Master. Naren will make his disciples and devotees fulfill his mission to do good to humanity. So I'm going to repeat what Holy Mother said. Naren is an instrument in the hands of the Master. Naren will make his disciples and devotees fulfill his mission to do good to humanity. For that reason, the Master is making Naren write those inspiring words. After Holy Mother had been at Sharat Sarkar's house for a month, a house was rented for her on Sarkabari Lane in Bagbazar near the Ganges. The first floor of the house was a turmeric warehouse according to M, a jute warehouse. So they may have sold both turmeric and jute. And the second and third floors were the living quarters. Holy Mother lived with Gopalma, Golapma, and other women devotees on the third floor. From there, she could see the Ganges very clearly, which she always, if we remember her experiences with seeing the master as the Ganges, it always delighted her eyes to see the Ganges. Swamis Brahmananda and Yogananda and a couple of brahmacharis lived on the second floor so they could look after Holy Mother. Holy Mother stayed in the house for 5 or 6 months. After Kali Puja, she left for Jairampati in November 1896. Holy Mother returned to Calcutta in 1897, probably in the 4th week of April, and stayed in a rented house at 10/2 Bushborough Lane, Bug Bazaar. Swamiji went to see her there on 29 April. There was some discussion of Holy Mother visiting Kedarnath and Badrinath, but the plan did not work out. Okay, that was the end of that chapter. Now we're on chapter 13, Holy Mother and Vivekananda. She who is always, this is from a stotram by Swami Vivekananda. She who is always guiding and inspiring my intellect in this world. So she who is always guiding and inspiring my intellect in this world. She is my all-auspicious mother. She is my goal, whether I succeed or fail. Ramakrishna may have cast off his body, but his spirit began to flow in the veins of humanity. Now, what a statement is this? Sri Ramakrishna may have cast off his body, but his spirit began to flow in the veins of humanity. Swami Vivekananda, affectionately called Swamiji, carried the master's ideal of a universal religion to both the West and the East. On 20 February 1897, 3.5 years after his highly acclaimed achievement at the Parliament of Religion in Chicago, Vivekananda returned to Calcutta. He was totally exhausted from his constant lecturing and meeting people. So on 8 March, following his doctor's advice, he left for Darjeeling to rest and recover his health. Doesn't mention what happened here, but the reason he came back so quickly is that he discovered a lot of suffering there, and so was not able to stay. Following his doctor's advice, he left for Darjeeling to rest and recover his health. He returned to Calcutta on 21 March to meet Raja Ajit Singh of Khetri, and again left for Darjeeling on 23 March. Swamiji finally returned to Calcutta on 28 April 1897. The next day he visited, so he went to Darjeeling, returned quickly, went back to Darjeeling, and this time he stayed until the 28th of April, and it was good for his health. Okay, he returned to Calcutta on the 28th of April, 1897. Somebody has got some noise making going on. Please mute mute. Whoever it is that's got that noise going on. Akash, is that you that has noise going on in the background?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. I'll just mute my audio. One sec.
Please do, yes. Okay. On 28 April 97, he returned to Calcutta. The next day, he visited Holy Mother at 10/2 Bushborough Lane in Bagbazar. Oh my goodness. Can someone read that name? Balakrishna, can you read
Yes,
that name?
sir. Kumud Bandhu.
Kumud Bandhu Sen left an eyewitness account of their meeting. It was a memorable and historic occasion. All those who had the rare privilege to see this meeting between Holy Mother and the illustrious Swami Vivekananda for the first time after the latter's return from the West with laurels of glory and fame felt an exuberance of joy. Holy Mother stood silently at the door of her own room, wearing her usual veil-like covering. Swamiji prostrated himself before her. It was indeed a heavenly sight to see the worldly, it was indeed a heavenly sight to see the world-famous Swami Vivekananda prostrating himself with deep reverence and humility before Holy Mother, like a devoted son. Holy Mother, deeply moved at the sight of Swamiji, after an interval of nearly 7 years, stood speechless, as if in a trance. The whole atmosphere was surcharged with indescribable sublimity and divine bliss. When he made pranams to Mother, Swamiji did not touch her feet, as is often customary. And when he stood up after prostrating to her, he turned to all of us who were standing behind and said in a soft voice, "Go and prostrate before the Mother, but don't touch her feet. She is so gracious, so tender and affectionate, that when one touches her feet, then she readily draws, that when one touches her feet, she then readily draws unto and takes upon herself all the misery and suffering of the hapless soul out of her infinite grace and unbounded love and compassion for one and all. Thereby she has to suffer herself silently for others' sake. She has to suffer herself silently for others' sake. Go slowly one by one and prostrate before her. Pray to her and ask for her blessing from the bottom of your heart with all sincerity, but without verbal expression. She is ever in a superconscious state and understands everybody's mind. Now, in another place, Swami Vivekananda said that Holy Mother lived on the fifth plane, that is the chakra, the spiritual center at the throat, ever so barely holding herself in this world. This is what he means here. She is ever in a superconscious state and understands everybody's mind. As directed by Swamiji, all of us, one by one, silently prostrated ourselves before the Mother. Swamiji quietly stood in a corner of the veranda. When we had all finished offering pranams to Mother, Golap Ma broke the silence and addressed Swamiji on behalf of the Mother, saying in a most affectionate tone, "Mother is eager to know how you have been keeping at Darjeeling. Is there much improvement?" Swamiji: "Yes, I was much better there. Mahindra Banerjee and his accomplished wife very kindly looked after my comfort. I hope within a short time I will be all right." Now, Swamiji came back, as it was earlier said, just very briefly. He came back to Calcutta just absolutely, his health was broken. Golap Ma: "Mother says that the Master is always with you. You have still many more things to do for the good of the world. Swamiji, I see directly, I feel, and I realize that I'm a mere instrument of the Master. Sometimes I am myself surprised how such wonderfully great things are taking place, and how in the West men and women are ready to devote their lives to this noble cause and to help me voluntarily in spreading the message of the Master. I went to America with the blessing of the Mother, and when I succeeded in moving the people there through my speeches and received tremendous ovations from them, I remembered at once the power of the Mother's blessings, which had worked such a miracle. When I rested in silence, I could clearly perceive the same divine power, whom the Master called the Divine Mother, was guiding me there. Golap Ma conveyed the Mother's reply. The Master is not separate or different from the Divine Mother. The Master is doing all these great things through you. You are his chosen disciple and son. He loved you intensely and predicted before all that you were one day destined to be a distinguished world teacher. With great emotion, Swamiji said, Mother, I want to spread the Master's message and establish a worthy and enduring organization for that purpose as soon as possible. But I feel distressed that I cannot do things as speedily as I wish. Holy Mother herself spoke in a soft voice with maternal affection. Don't worry about that. What you have done and what you will do will endure forever. You are born for this work, for this mission. Thousands will look upon you as the enlightened teacher of the world. Rest assured that the Master will very soon fulfill your desire. You will before long find that your ideas are taking practical shape. With prayerful reverence, Swamiji said to Mother, bless me, Mother, that I may see my plan of work materialize as quickly as possible. With these words, Swamiji took leave of Mother, of Holy Mother, and reverently prostrated before her again. So I hope all of us were able to visualize that scene in our minds as the Mother Golapma in this room full of devotees was present. And this fellow very kindly wrote this. It's been transmitted to us. So are there any comments or questions at this point from anyone?
I just want to ask you one question, Brother Shankara.
Yes, Sham.
Did they listen to the Swamiji's, I mean, not listen actually, did they read the speech of Swamiji at Chicago?
I don't understand your question, Sham.
The Chicago speech of Swami,
Yes?
were they able to read it?
You mean yesterday or when?
No. At Holy Mother and others.
Oh no, I don't know whether I don't remember ever having read that was that those words were read to Holy Mother. That's a very good question, Sham. It bears looking into. She certainly knew what happened. Whether she knew the very words that he said, I don't know. I don't know. That's a very good question. I'll look into it and see.
Okay.
I know someone who I can ask. Oh, his name is Mahayogananda. You probably know of him. He lives in Hollywood.
Yeah.
He's an assistant to Swami Sarada Devi.
Yeah.
And he's a, and if I don't readily get the answer from him, then I may pester Swami Chetanananda about it. But I wouldn't go first to Chetanananda because he's busy and he's not in the best of health.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll get back to you about that, Sham. So, anything else from anyone before we go on? That was a very good question, Sham, whether Mother actually ever heard the words that he said. All right, we'll go ahead. Vivekananda was reassured and deeply moved by Holy Mother's blessings. You can imagine he was, right? He saw the fruits of her blessings in the West and identified that as her blessings. Of course, she then said that she and the Master were one, and it was the Master working through him. So Swamiji was moved by Holy Mother's blessings. In the course of this meeting, he said to her, "Mother, I did not clear the ocean this time in one jump." He is saying that he was Hanuman. He said, "Mother, I did not clear the ocean this time in one jump. I went to America in a boat built by Westerners. I discovered there that great glories of our Master. I discovered there the great glories of our Master. Many good people listened to me, spellbound about Sri Ramakrishna, and accepted his ideas. At Pashupati's Basu's house on 20 February 1897, Swamiji said to M, "Master Mahashai, whatever success you see in my life is the Leela play. Whatever success you see in my life is the Leela of the Master. I am only an instrument. He sent me there. When the Master indicated that I should go to the West, I informed the Mother and asked for her permission and command. By the blessings of the Mother, I easily overcame all difficulties there, and became the most prominent figure amongst many famous learned pundits and scientists." And that's absolutely true. Vivekananda became the most illustrious figure of the Parliament of World Religions. And there was quite a crowd that they had gathered because they made a very determined effort. Their agenda, of course, was to prove that Christianity was the dominant religion and the only true religion of the world. That was their secret agenda. Well, it didn't work out, but they were wise enough to know that Vivekananda could hold the crowd. So they would schedule Vivekananda at the end of every day's session. They would schedule his presentation at the end of the day so that the crowd would stay to hear him. He kind of upended their plan for establishing Christianity as the dominant religion, but they were wise enough to know that they had a real star on their hands. And of course, he didn't do anything to insult or contravene their plan, though he knew of it. He just spoke from his heart. Each time he spoke from his heart about the subject at hand, and gave offense to no one. So the subhead of this chapter, the next subhead, is Vivekananda's view of Holy Mother. One can know God only by his grace, and not by means of austerity or by japa and meditation. Grace dawns upon those who are endowed with purity and renunciation, humility and unselfishness, devotion and passionate yearning. Swami Vivekananda recognized Holy Mother's divinity long before he left for the West. From America, he wrote to his brother disciples about Holy Mother. You have not realized how precious Mother is. People will not understand her now, but they will gradually. Brother, there will be no salvation of the world without the help of the divine power. Why is it that our country is the weakest and most backward of all countries? Because Shakti is held in dishonor there. Now, this is still a very potent question in India, as we know. They're still struggling with this issue of Shakti being held in dishonor. So these things don't solve themselves quickly. Our country is the weakest and most backward of all countries because Shakti is held in dishonor there. Without the grace of Shakti, nothing will be accomplished. What do I find in America and Europe? The worship of Shakti, the worship of power. Yet they worship her ignorantly through sense gratification. So notice that the identity of Shakti with the power of creation, sustentation and protection, and destruction. In the West, all of that is worshipped, but ignorantly through sense gratification. Imagine then what a lot of good they will achieve when they worship her with purity, looking upon her as their mother. I am coming to understand things every day. My insight is opening out more and more. This is again something for us to witness about Vivekananda. And those of us who read yesterday may have discovered some of this even in his speaking and his writings. He was a human being, and he grew as he shouldered the burden of Sri Ramakrishna's work, of his mission. He learned and grew. I am coming to understand things every day. My insight is opening out more and more. Why do I make a point of this? Because we too can do this. We too, by taking Ramakrishna's mantle on us, or the Lord in any form, whatever form it is that appeals to our heart. We too will come to understand things every day, and our insight will open out more and more. Let Ramakrishna disappear. That does not frighten me, but it will be a calamity if people forget Mother. Now, Swamiji was always given to these extreme statements. Let Sri Ramakrishna disappear. That does not frighten me, but it will be a calamity if people forget Mother. Don't be angry with me. None of you has understood Mother. Her grace upon me is 100,000 times greater than that of the Master. Of course, when he encountered her in that meeting we just heard described, what did she say? She and the Master are one. So he says, 100,000 times, her blessings on him are 100,000 times greater than the Master. About Mother, I'm a little fanatic. I can do anything if she gives the order. I shall give a sigh of relief when you purchase a piece of land and install this living Durga there. Brother, when I think of the Mother, I say to myself, Who is this Ramakrishna? I say this because of my fanaticism. Whether Ramakrishna was God or man, you may say whatever you like. But brother, shame upon him who is not devoted to mother. After receiving Holy Mother's blessings, Swamiji inaugurated the Ramakrishna mission on 1 May 1897 at Balaram's house in Calcutta. There's that name again, Kumud
Mudabandhu Sen.
Bandhu Sen, thank you. Described the mission, Kumud Bandhu Sen described the mission's regular meetings. The weekly meetings of the Ramakrishna mission were usually held on Sunday evenings at Balaram Mandir in Bug Bazaar. At several of these meetings, Holy Mother was present, accompanied by some of her women companions and devotees. And this was unusual for the time, in that time and place, for a woman to be given a place of honor and her companions a place of honor in these meetings. At several of these meetings, Holy Mother was present, accompanied by some of her women companions and devotees. Swamiji would often preside over these meetings and would sing many songs, especially when Holy Mother was present. On 6 May 1897, Swamiji left for Almora to recuperate his health, along with Swami Yogananda, Adbhutananda, and Niranjanananda. Others joined him there later. One day in Almora, Swamiji talked with his brother's disciples about the future Women's Month, which he wanted to center on Holy Mother. Now, just as a note, this was one of Swamiji's plans that did not come to fruition in his lifetime. As a matter of fact, the Sarada Mat, the Mat centered on Holy Mother, was not founded until 1954. So Swamiji talked about the Women's Mat, which he wanted to center on Holy Mother. In July, Yogananda returned to Calcutta. One day he met Girish at Balaram Mandir and talked to him about Swamiji's plan. This conversation was recorded by Kumud Bandhu Sen. Swami Yogananda said, Swamiji wants to establish a monastery for women sannyasins under the direct guidance of the Mother. All the women disciples of the Master would be able to live together in the proposed mat for women, and other women, including even those from the West who desire to lead a life of renunciation and meditation, may come and live there and derive immense benefit by coming into the immediate contact with the living ideal and hallowed associations of the women disciples. Some of those women did come to India. That mat, as I said, was never founded, but they did spend a great deal of time with Mother. Mother was very generous with her time, especially Margaret Noble, Sister Nivedita. The Mother's glowing personal example of purity and character, her spiritual talks and teachings based on her own realizations, and her ennobling love and care will inspire and elevate the inmates of the proposed mat. At the same time, instilling into them a new force that will awaken their dominant energy, their dormant energy. At the same time, instilling into them a new force that will awaken their dormant energy. By the dormant energy, of course, he meant that Shakti power that had been suppressed and oppressed. They will be transformed entirely and endowed with a new vision and realization of their own Shakti potential, so that they too can work fearlessly for the highest good of humanity. And Margaret Noble, Sister Nivedita, Josephine MacLeod, Mrs. Ole Bull, Sarah Bull, and Mrs. Sevier, they all did this. They all did exactly this. All of this happened to them. There just was no organization. Swamiji told me, this is in Yogananda speaking, Swamiji told me with great emotion, our mother is a vast reservoir of spiritual energy, though outwardly calm like the deep ocean. Her advent marks the beginning of a new era in the history of India. The idea that she lives and teaches will not only spiritualize the efforts for the emancipation of women in India, but will also penetrate into and influence the minds and hearts of women all the world over. Mother represents the highest expression of womanhood, especially in India. Motherhood, is an innate instinct in every woman, the signs of which might be discovered even in a little girl. In the West, the whole structure of society rests on the wifehood of women. And motherhood is the true expression of divine love. I'll repeat that, but motherhood is the true expression of divine love, sublime, noble, and broad as the sky. So in other words, it doesn't just have to do with being a wife and mother. But motherhood, this is Swamiji speaking, and motherhood is the true expression of divine love, sublime, noble, and broad as the sky. In reply, Girish Ghosh said, it is altogether new and bold. It is an altogether new and bold idea of reforming our society and improving the lot of our women. Swamiji's will must be fulfilled, and I have not the least hesitation in fully supporting this proposal. But his failing health is making all of us anxious, and the doctors have strongly advised him to take complete rest. Well, we know that Swamiji didn't do that. Just to review, Sri Ramakrishna, at the time that he transferred his power to Vivekananda, he said he did near the time of his death, that he had transferred all of his power to Vivekananda. And he said, you will not be able to escape. I hold the key. And not until you experience Nirvikalpa Samadhi again. He had given Naren that experience. Not until you experience that again may you leave the body. That experience, that realization, came to Swami Vivekananda in June of 1895 at Thousand Island Park in New York. You can go sit on the rock where Swamiji had this experience. But notice that he did not leave the body until 7 years later. He could have left then. So he just kept beating his body and making it go forward, even though he was suffering from asthma and dyspepsia and Lord only knows what all. Certainly a lot of ill health. So Girish said the doctors had strongly advised him to take complete rest.
Shankaraji,
Yes.
isn't that they, when Swamiji was still alive, they opened this Udbodhana, that is for the mother, no?
The Udbodhan was a place for mother to live. The Udbodhan is actually that the Udbodhan is the name of a publication organization. Swami Chetanananda built that place to have his office and his publication center in the lower floor, and mother would have the upper floor. And that's where she lived after this was built. She lived continuously there, as we'll discover. But it was not a convent, though she lived there with her women companions, Golapma, Yoganma, Gopalma, and so on. They all came and went there. She actually felt, she said, I feel, when I live in Calcutta, I feel like a bird in a cage. So many of these women did have her darshan and her blessings, her own disciples and women who went on to become monastics, even though, and they formed several organizations, but it was not under the leadership of the order, which is what Vivekananda envisioned. That didn't happen until 1954. So Udbodhan was where mother lived in Calcutta and did a lot of teaching, and there were many people who came to see her there. But it was not a convent. It was not what Swamiji had envisioned, no.
But Brother Shankara, I remember that when we went to Udbodhan, they served us food. So apparently there was some temple or something there.
No temple. No temple, but mother would often feed the devotees who came, yes. So there's no temple there.
Okay, because I remember we ate there. So I
Yes. It's quite, the mother's prasad is served at a number of places, but it's not a temple. It's a shrine upstairs where mother lived, and food is prepared and devotees are fed. And you were very fortunate, Sham, to be one of those who was fed when you went there. You happened to go just at the right time.
No, because the driver planned it in that way, so
Yes.
we were just guided by.
Where were you staying? Were you staying in Gold Park?
No, we stayed in the dorm, the new dorm.
The guest house at Bellermat?
Yeah, Belurmat, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the driver from there would also know what to do.
Swami Narendra Maharaj, he arranged all our tour. So he took us everywhere, all these places.
Yes.
Except Yogodhya, and we went everywhere.
Oh, good.
Because Yogodhya was closed on that day or something. So we couldn't go.
Okay. What time has it gotten to be?
It's 8:47, Shankaraji.
Thank you. Good, we have more time. Any other comments or questions? Good. Okay, Swami Yogananda said, physical ill health or any other impediment from any source. And here's Yogananda saying what I was trying to get at earlier. Swami Yogananda said, physical ill health or any other impediment from any source is not going to daunt or dissuade him from his determination to carry out his plans, which he firmly believes will benefit society and contribute to the well-being of mankind. He only smiles at our anxiety for and worry over the condition of his health. After listening to all this, he told me of his plan for starting a women's mat. I said to him, do whatever you think will be conducive for the good of society at large, but please do not bring the mother into public prominence now. Don't you remember the master telling us that his body would not survive if we preached him before the public? And this is Yogananda somewhat disagreeing with Vivekananda's plans. Yogananda was very protective of the mother. He served her so. When he left the body, she said, oh no, now what will I do? My Yogan is gone. What will become of me? Please do not bring the mother into public prominence. Don't you remember the master telling us that his body would not survive if we preached him before the public? The same may be said in respect to the mother too. I do not allow all and sundry to meet the mother or touch her feet while offering their salutations. I see that only sincere devotees of pure character have her darshan. Therefore, I humbly request you, brother, do not disturb the mother at present. You may start the women's mat with the help and cooperation of women devotees of spotless character and spiritual realization, who all possess learning and skill in various branches of knowledge and work, and who are capable of taking charge of this organization without any direct association with men, and as such, not to speak of our sadhus. As soon as I finished saying this, Swamiji heartily thanked me and smilingly said, Mantri, you have given me a sound piece of advice and aptly reminded me of the master's words in this respect. I shall not disturb the mother. Let her fulfill her mission according to her own will and in the manner she chooses. Who are we to dictate to her? Rather, we can accomplish everything with her blessings. I have personally seen and felt the power of her blessings, which can do miracles. Girish replied, Yogan Swami, you have done yeoman's service indeed. Now I see why you accompanied Swamiji to Almora. The Ramakrishna Math had been inaugurated in 1886 at Baranagar. In 1892, it was moved to Lambazar. But when Swamiji returned from the West, he was desperately trying to build a permanent monastery. Now, note the word desperately. He knew he wasn't going to live so very many years more. So in 1892, this was, but when Swamiji returned from the West, which was 1897, 5 years later, he was desperately trying to build a permanent monastery on the bank of the Ganges. Finally, on 3 February 1898, he succeeded in acquiring the present site of Belur Math, the permanent headquarters of the Ramakrishna Mission. So now it's the Math and Mission there. The Math was then moved temporarily on 13 February 1898 to Nilambar Babu's garden house in Belur, as it was very close to the property that had just been purchased. Holy Mother had previously stayed at this garden house. When the site was purchased, Holy Mother remarked, I always saw the master living in a cottage on the bank of the Ganges, where the Math now stands. surrounded by a banana grove. Now I'm going to repeat this because mother, this is mother in her sweet way saying the truth of what is going to happen. I always saw the master living in a cottage on the bank of the Ganges, where the mat now stands, surrounded by a banana grove. When the new land was purchased, Naren took me there one day. He showed me around and said, Mother, now you can move freely in your own place. Now you can imagine Swamiji's great heart. Now you can move freely in your own place. He was saying that this place was hers. And so she did guide it. From then on, she did guide it until her death. It is said that the site of Belur had earlier been the
Yard.
timber yard, is that what it says?
Yes.
Oh yeah, the timber yard of Captain Vishwanath
Upadhyay.
Upadhyay of Nepal, the person that Sri Ramakrishna used to call captain. So yeah, okay, I'll read that again then. It is said that the site of Belur had been the timber yard of Captain Vishwanath Upadhyay of Nepal, and that Ramakrishna had once visited him there. In April 1898, construction began on the monastery building. At the end of April, Holy Mother came from Calcutta by boat to visit the site with Golap Ma, Swami Yogananda, and Brahmachari Krishnalal. As soon as she landed at the ghat of Nilambar Babu's house, the monks received her blowing conchas. They washed her feet, fanned her, and took her to the shrine. Holy Mother worshipped the Master that day and had prasad there. In the afternoon, at Swami Brahmananda's request, Holy Mother and her party went to the construction site. Now here's these women that I mentioned earlier that were so important to Swamiji's work. Sister Nivedita, Sarah Bull, and Josephine MacLeod. Sister Nivedita, Sarah Bull, and Josephine MacLeod were then staying in an old house on the property. They had previously met Holy Mother in Calcutta and now cordially received her and showed her around. Holy Mother was happy to see. Swamiji established this place for those three women to live, by the way. And I'll just tell you a little story. He was training Nivedita. And Swamiji could be terribly fierce. And so he would scold Nivedita and browbeat her, you could say. And one time, Josephine MacLeod, Tantine, he just called her Jo. They were friends. She was his disciple, yes, but they were friends. She took him aside and she said, Swamiji, when you leave, Nivedita is just in tears. You must let up on her. You must stop this. And he did. He took Tantine's advice. So these three women were living in this cottage. They had previously met Holy Mother in Calcutta and now cordially received her and showed her around. Holy Mother was happy to see how the work was proceeding. She remarked, at long last, the boys have a place to lay their heads. The Master finally has cast his grace on them. She then returned to Calcutta by boat. In March 1898, there was an outbreak of plague in Calcutta. Swami Vivekananda immediately wanted to make plans for relief work, but there was no money. He told his brother disciples, We shall sell, if necessary, the land that has just been purchased for the monastery. Where our sannyasins, we must be ready to sleep under the trees and live on alms as we did before. Must we care for the monastery and possessions, while by disposing of them we could relieve thousands of helpless people suffering before our own eyes? Swamiji had such a strong personality that it was not easy to dissuade him. Moreover, his brother disciples were very obedient. However, Swami Shivananda interjected, Swamiji, you always consult with Holy Mother about important matters. Will you not consult with her before selling the Mat property? Swamiji immediately replied, you are right, Tarakta. It is my mistake. I shall go to Holy Mother right now. Swamiji went to Holy Mother in Calcutta, accompanied by Brahmananda, Shivananda, and Saradananda. These were the four that really were the leaders of this. Premananda also, but these were the four main leaders. After bowing down, Swamiji said, Mother, there is no money to serve the plague-stricken people. I'm considering selling the Mat property and using that money for relief work. We are monks. We can live under the trees. We need your permission. Holy Mother had always supported Swamiji's projects, but she did not agree with him on this matter. She said, my son, no, you cannot sell the Mat property. This is not your Mat. It belongs to the Master. You are my heroic son. You can spend your lives under the trees. But those of my children will come in the future, will not be able to live under the trees. This Mat is for them. See Mother's vision. Those who would join the Ramakrishna order later, they would not be of the character of Sri Ramakrishna's direct disciples. They wouldn't be able to be wandering sannyasins. This Mat is for them. Will the purpose of Belur Mat end after conducting only one relief work? The objectives of the Master's mission are many. Now, see how Mother's mind works. See how her mind works. The objectives of the Master's mission are many. The infinite ideas of the Master will spread all over the world in the future. His mission will continue through the ages. Swamiji immediately realized the truth of Holy Mother's statement. He told his brother's disciples, it is true. I have no right to sell the monastery land. What was my emotion leading me to do? It did not occur to me. So this great soul had that humility. Swami joyfully accepted Holy Mother's decision. Holy Mother's words were final regarding any decisions of the Mat. Once when a servant stole something from Belur Mat, Swamiji asked him to leave. The poor man went to Holy Mother in Calcutta and confessed his guilt. He asked her to get his job back for him. She forgave him and sent him back to Belur with Premananda saying, this man is poor. He stole out of dire poverty. Naren threw him out. My son, there is so much suffering in this world. You are monks, so you don't understand worldly life. Please take him back. Premananda accompanied the man to Belur and reported everything to Swamiji, who was happy to accept Holy Mother's decision. Okay, it's 9:02. I think we'll leave it at that and take it up with the next. There isn't a subhead, but it's about Vivekananda in October 1898. Swami Vivekananda returned from a pilgrimage in Kashmir. So, are there any comments, questions, anything that you would like to say, or this is where we do this together? I love this part, where we do this together. Any comments or questions, or just anything you'd like to say?
I just have a comment, Brother Shankara. This is Haima.
Yes, Jaime.
I think Holy Mother is extremely compassionate. If the guy stole something and she forgave him, means she is truly, truly on the highest planet there in forgiveness.
Well, it was beyond compassion. Yes, she was compassionate, but it was beyond compassion. She saw into the man. She
Exactly.
saw why he had stolen.
That's right.
It wasn't out of greed. It was to support his family. There's a little more to the story. It was for his family that he stole. And so this is why she said there's so much suffering in the world.
Wonderful.
His family was suffering.
Yes.
And so that's, but you're absolutely right. She was compassionate, but she was compassionate from deep inner wells of understanding and wisdom.
I just have one question about fifth chakra. You said that Holy Mother was at the throat chakra.
Yes, this is, I didn't say this. Swami, I reported Swamiji said that's where she lived.
What does that mean? What does that mean, truly in spiritual sense? I know there are chakras,
The
throat chakra.
the first, third, and fifth chakras
Uh-huh.
are the chakras of expression of power.
I see.
Mother's words. You'll notice that she often didn't say things aloud to a crowd of people. She would say something to one of her attendants, to one of her women companions, and they would say it for her. Why? Because if Mother said it herself, it would have to come true. So this is, but it is also the transition point. You know, the heart is our center. 3 below, 3 centers below, and 3 above. The heart is our center. This is the beginning, this center is the beginning of the spiritual, of living, if you live here or above, and really it's only here or here. And those who live here, the 6th chakra, they're like Trilanga Swami, the Swami who lived in Varanasi, Benares, at the time that the master visited. You know, he didn't do anything or say anything. He simply radiated. And those are the creative chakras, 2, 4, and 6. So the Mother lived at the intersection between the worldly and the spiritual, and it was just by the act of her will that she actually remained embodied. She created an attachment, as we'll hear. You know, the master created an attachment for her, to her niece,
Thank you, Brother.
in order for her to stay embodied.
Thank you so much for the clarification.
Mm. Anyone else?
Yeah, I think that's for Sister Nivedita.
Yes.
Also, when they reported that she was crying and all those things, the Swamiji's remarks were, it shows how much he loved. If I don't call something of my own, who can I say anything? That shows his so much of love for, for her. That's,
Oh, he loved her. He loved her. But
yes,
Josephine MacLeod told him that in those days, in those moments, he was being too hard on her. It was too much for her to bear. And he took Tantine's, Josephine MacLeod's words seriously. And so he backed off. And even in a way apologized. But of course, Swamiji didn't do anything out of willfulness or malice or anything of the kind. No, it was out of love. But you can say in this case, it was an excess of love that was more than Nivedita was able to bear. That's what Josephine MacLeod was saying.
actually, this was even Sister Nivedita, understood, because in her book, my guru, what is the name of the book?
My guru and
Yes.
the master as I saw him. The master.
Yeah, the master I saw. Yes.
The master as I saw him.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Well, she tells the story from her side.
Yes.
Josephine MacLeod saw it from, and Josephine MacLeod was a powerhouse in herself. If you read the stories about her, she rounded up the illustrious of Europe to meet Swamiji, and many of them were affected. Bergson, for example, the philosopher. Poets, singers. Anyone else? All right. We'll
It's
call
really touching, Shankaraji, how the Swamiji, expressed her, regard to the mother. It's really,
Oh, yes.
amazing.
Well,
I mean,
it's interesting what when Swami Chandrasekharananda here was here, I asked him to tell us something about Swamiji and Sri Ramakrishna, their relationship that isn't in the books. It's in the oral tradition. And he said, Sri Ramakrishna remarked one time about Swamiji, he is related to me on my in-laws' side. In other words, through the mother's side. So there's a special relationship between Vivekananda and mother. There's no two ways about it. Thank you, Bala. Om Satoma Satkamaya. Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Avirmoiti. O dearly beloved Lord, lead us from thy lesser truth to thy highest truth. Lead us from darkness and ignorance to the brilliance of thy wisdom and love. Lead us from death to immortality. Light us through and through. Light us through and through. with thy everlasting shining presence. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace be unto us and to all suffering and joyous beings everywhere. Om Hari Om Tat Sat. Yes.
Are you feeling okay? Because today I noticed that you are coughing a little bit more than usual, normal way.
Yeah, I've had a bad day. It's true.
Okay, okay.
But I'm all right. You know, it's just, well, I don't know that I'm all right, but this is just taking longer to heal than I might have wished. I'm not exactly sure what got broken. That is taking such a long time to heal. I'm doing the necessary. I'm walking. I'm taking my medications very dedicatedly and so on and so forth. But today was just a bad day. That's all there is to it. Thank you for noticing, Balaji.
Thank you, Brother Shankara. Good night.
Good night, dear. Jai Shri Guru Maharaj Ji Ki Jai. Durga, Durga, Durga. Go in Mother's sweet embrace, safely and on your way.
Good night, brother. Take care.
Good night, Akash. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Brother Shankara.
Good night, dear.
See you tomorrow.